Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's session. I'm Cynthia Garrett. And so if you were with us last week, then you know that we have been hanging out with a very dear friend of mine who has written an incredible book. It's actually more than a book because it's very interactive. And the book is called Diversify. The friend is named June Sarpong.
Hello.
And she's a big TV presenter here in England and actually around the world.
Darling.
Because you have been a presenter in America as well.
Yes.
And in Africa.
Yeah, and in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're a native. So.
I am, native daughter.
Yeah. The sessions are really heavily watched.
Yes.
In Africa.
I know. Well, the sessions are heavily watched everywhere. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, June.
Wonderful.
It's some ministry that God has chosen to give me.
Yeah, amazing.
It's interesting,
Yeah.
you know? Well, last week, you know, for those of you tuning in now, we were going through Diversify and talking about a lot of the ways that we as Christians can powerfully reach out and try to understand other people and other faiths in order to start the dialogue about even Jesus.
Yes,
because the dialogue begins through relationship.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, we had the same journey.
We did, but we always had a bond, though, didn't we?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as big a step, as it were, because there was always a connection.
We were always sisters.
Yeah, we were always sisters.
Yeah.
So slightly different. I think for those where somebody may seem so different to you, where you can't even think where the common ground could be, that's when it's a little harder.
Yeah, and you've done a great job on the website, diversify.org, of actually showing the faces of culture. I think it's so beautiful. It's like artwork.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely putting it all together. And for me, the key element of the book is the subtitle, which is 6 Degrees of Integration, because the world is separate enough. And it's 6 steps on how you better connect with the other, whatever the other is for you.
Right.
And so the first step is to challenge your ism. And we spoke about this briefly last week, but it is about looking at what your isms are, being aware of them. Most of us don't even know what they are. We don't even realize we have them, but they influence the way we behave, the way we hire, the way we love, the way we choose our friends. You know, it influences so much of how we live our lives. So the first thing is to challenge your ism, be aware of it.
Yeah.
So do the ism calculator. Then the second step, which a lot of people sort of belittle when I say this one, but I think is a really important step, is to check your circle. Look in your phone book, or, you know, now it's mobile phones, but look in your mobile contact list, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is that what they call it? Yeah, your contacts. Who is it that you choose to connect with? Who is it that you choose to be around? And if they all look, sound, think like you, come from the same cultural background, even only the same religion, you're going to have a linear outlook. I think it's really important to make sure that your social group is diverse so that you understand other people, because it's in friendship that you're able to move beyond difference and see the humanity in someone.
Wow, well, I can't believe people would actually, that to me may be one of the
most important ones, I think. But no, you'd be surprised. A lot of people are cynical, like, oh, well, just because you've got a friend doesn't mean. But I tell you, having a friend definitely makes you challenge how you look at a lot of this stuff.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Listen, I said a few weeks ago on one of the sessions, I said, you know, when I became a born-again Christian, that was one journey. Then I became a surrendered Christian, and that was a different journey. Because then I realized I was really surrendering my life to Christ as Lord. And I had this moment where, I mean, I looked in a mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, how did an otherwise cool hippie chick girl like you end up a born-again Christian Republican? Like, I was like, what am I?
And as a dedicated Labour supporter, Democrat, I still love you.
Exactly. You see, even with your friends, there are some places. I know.
There are still lines, but we still cross them.
You know, and I look, June, and I just figure you're on the couch because somewhere in here, I'm going to pull you over. No, you know.
think I'm gonna stay on this side.
It's like,
Stay
she's
on the
like, I
left.
don't know. You know, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you something on this one, which is so funny, because when I actually look in my contact list, I kind of feel like, oh yeah, I do have a lot of.
Most of your friends are probably more liberal, actually.
Totally.
Totally.
Yeah, in many, many ways. I mean, I have a
many
lot
ways.
of my friends who are, Christian leaders and pastors and what
course,
have you.
yeah.
But I also have as big a circle of other friends.
Yeah.
And I realized that, well, the Holy Spirit told me years ago, He literally gave me a vision of myself as a bridge.
You are.
And there were people walking across the bridge.
yeah.
And God, and I really feel like I have a unique and beautiful opportunity.
Yes, and perspective because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And and I think that's what that number 2
Yes.
is about for you.
It is.
That it's
Yeah.
very important to me
Yeah.
because, look, I feel like I am to do the work of an evangelist.
Yes.
But nobody wants to hear what I have to say if I don't take the time to understand them.
Yes, to understand them. There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want to? Why
Right.
wouldn't you want to be curious to understand? Because how can you challenge something if you don't really understand it? So even though I've been laughing at you with your Republican self, I actually do follow on Twitter. I follow a lot of, and that's one of the things I also suggest in the book. I follow a lot of people who are at the opposite ends of me politically. But you have to. I have to. I mean, otherwise, how can you ever have a conversation in terms of finding common ground if I don't know where you're coming from on certain issues?
See, we have a very unique perspective on this, because I have to tell you, I do think that, unfortunately, a lot of Christians are really cloaked in the kingdom.
Yes.
And so there's not that experience with
or that
anything
openness,
outside.
yeah.
But I'm very open about the fact that I got saved out of the world.
Yeah. So,
That's where, so I understand it.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, with this one, there was sort of that moment where I thought, even in, how do I vote now that I love Jesus, And that prohibited me from voting, because I was always a Democrat, always liberal, and probably when I say liberal, I mean, like most people, I wanted everyone to sort of feel loved and be provided
and to have
for.
a shot.
We've really muddied, I think,
that
these
means,
things.
I agree.
Yeah, liberal,
and now
conservative.
It's all too extreme on either end, to be honest. Yeah.
And I think most of us
live somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
We want to have our faith. We want to be who we are as Christians, and we want you to accept us. And we have to accept you if we're Christians, because the only way I feel like I might make a difference to someone who doesn't believe what I believe is to love them.
Yeah. Yes. Yep, that's all you can ever do.
So
the second one is check your circle, and then I would hope once you've checked your circle, if it's not as diverse as it should be, then you would create a new connection.
I love that one.
And in creating a new connection, you allow for the moment of adjustment as well. I think that's the other thing. You know what? It's new. It's not necessarily something that feels comfortable to begin with. But like anything in life, the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And I think it's really important to make sure you create those new connections that challenge whatever your normal is, so that you can understand more people. And again, back to what we were saying earlier, is then find that humanity in the other. And then once you've created a new connection, hopefully you would change your mind. Yeah. Hopefully you would open your mind and change your mind in a lot of things. I think that's the other thing. We're so wedded to being right all the time. And I think we sometimes also have to be open to perhaps someone else has something to teach us. Because even as Christians, sometimes it might be somebody from another religion that has something to teach you about your own faith. It may be something that they bring up in you that actually drills you even more committed to your faith. Do you see what I mean? Be open to that too.
Yeah, I do, because before I got saved, I grew up a Catholic.
Yes.
So I grew up with Jesus. I was a believer. I always believed.
Yeah.
But then, in my own sort of rebellion and kind of, I explored all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
Kabbalah, Buddhism, New Age religion, all of it.
But at least you know it. You understand them. Yes, which gives you a whole nother level of,
But it's funny. I understand them, but you are right. It did make me when I chose Jesus,
Yes.
it
Yes.
made me that much clearer about why I was choosing
Yes,
Jesus.
and you were choosing it from an informed place, and
Right.
that is powerful.
It is powerful because, you know, we did some sessions a number of weeks ago, Roger and I, about going through the prophecies of Christ. Because I said, I meet a lot of Christians who, you know, they say they believe this thing, and they're afraid to even have questions, yet they have questions.
Yes.
And God is bigger than our questions.
Yes, he's much bigger. You know, it's funny. There was, you know, obviously Billy Graham died recently, and there was an interview that he did many years ago, and he was talking about when he decided he was going to give his life to Jesus and fully commit to becoming an evangelist. And he said there were many points in the Bible that he didn't have an answer for, that he just didn't understand. And he was just going to accept he didn't understand them. And I think that in itself is so big. A lot of the time, we're trying to say we understand everything. We don't, right? And it's okay not to.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, that's fine.
That is so...
Because there's an arrogance to saying you understand everything, isn't there?
Totally. That is so... Oh my gosh, that's so liberating to think that Billy Graham was smart enough to say he wasn't smart enough.
I don't know.
Right? Right, exactly. But I know, and I think there's this pressure that, especially when you arrive to the place where you're sitting on the couch and you have the microphone, and you feel like...
And people want you to have answers, that's the other thing. Because I think for you, particularly in your role now as an evangelist, where you're going around the world and you're ministering to people, people come to you because they want answers. And a lot of the time, we're not comfortable with someone like you not having answers. And we have to be, because actually that's the whole point of the journey of faith, isn't it? It's that sometimes we don't know, and there's a higher power that does.
You have to, God wants a relationship individually with each of his kids. And it's so, I always say, look, I'm human. Don't put me on a pedestal, because if you do, if I stumble, I have further to fall. But if we're both down here on the ground together,
then we're good.
We can walk this thing out. We can learn. We can grow. And the reality is, I don't have all the answers.
No.
I'm a continual work. The Bible says, "Be ye continually transformed by the renewing of your mind in Christ Jesus." That implies to me that we're going to be transforming until the day we die.
Yeah. How wonderful.
How wonderful.
How wonderful.
I don't want to stay stuck where I am today.
No. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Exactly.
So, yes, the fourth one is to change your mind. And the fifth one, and I don't know if this is the same for America, celebrate difference. I think particularly in Britain.
Similarity and difference.
Yeah, similarity and difference. So similarity in what we have in common as human beings.
Yeah.
That, the fact that we're here. And then difference. There's a reason why we are different. It's great. You know, at the end of the day, you know that a meal is much more delicious when you add lots of different spices and colorful and all of that. So why do we think humanity is any different? So funny, I met a woman who said we should treat the way we eat. And I thought that was so cool, right?
That's really good. That's really good.
If we treated each other the way, we eat, life would be a lot different. So I think celebrate difference.
Yeah,
isn't that cool? We enjoy. Who wants a whole bland plate?
I love Indian
food. Love it.
Right.
You know.
But I'm not Hindu.
No, it's delicious. But you can enjoy it, right?
Right.
And also even a traditional American meal, still everything on that plate is different, isn't it? That's what makes it delicious.
Yes.
And so I think celebrate difference, and particularly in this country, we're really uncomfortable with acknowledging difference. So we say things like, oh, I don't see color, or I didn't notice that that person had a disability. Of course you did. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do you see what I mean? The minute we no longer think that it's a bad thing, then we won't be uncomfortable with celebrating difference. So it's actually celebrating difference and valuing that difference as well.
Oh my goodness, and I love this point, because our PC cultures in the Western world have taken us to a place of utter stupidity.
Oh, it is. And we're not dealing in facts.
No.
Yeah, like, come on.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's because I know people who are handicapped.
Yeah.
When
or
they
disabled,
Or disabled.
Yes, yeah.
My nephew is.
Yeah.
When they enter the room, and you act like you don't see them,
Yes.
that is
It's
actually
actually
offensive
belittling
to
them.
them.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Because they're the
Yes.
first to say, oh, I can't use my arm. Can you actually pass that to me?
There you go. Right. Yeah.
But honestly, I think we're selling, it's very interesting.
Yes.
It's almost like there's a deeper spiritual agenda selling us lies
Yes.
and telling us that you have to act like you don't see truth
Yes.
in order to make everyone feel okay.
But it doesn't make people feel okay. It makes people feel not validated. It also says that there's only one norm, and if you're not that, there's something wrong with you. That's what it's saying. Whereas if you say like your nephew, no big deal. Okay, great, no worries. We know we have to pass him the salt, whatever. Do you see what I mean? If we just make that okay, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in.
But it is interesting. It's trying to create one norm.
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
And I don't really, I don't
And there's only a
understand
tiny percentage that can ever meet that norm. So actually it's the majority of people that are somehow otherized. And that's the word I use. You see, for me, I don't like extreme words like racism. And I think prejudice is far too nebulous. I think actually racism is what you saw happen in Charlottesville. You know, it's that extreme end. I think most people live somewhere in the middle where you're just slightly uncomfortable with difference, and therefore it influences the way we behave. And I think if we can have an environment that allows us all to have honest conversations where we deal with these issues and we get comfortable with the other and the unknown, we could move things forward so quickly, because you see it happening in everyday life all the time. We see it, don't we? We've lived it, we know it. And I think if we can somehow bring more of that, so that becomes the norm, we would see society in a completely different light.
I mean, boy, I'll tell you, I think about where we are in the States today. And it's we're hyper focused on the differences.
That's all we're focused on at the moment.
It's it's divisive. And it's painful. And it's destructive.
It's destructive. I was about to say the same thing. It's destructive.
It really is. You know, but there is this point where, and I wonder if you feel this way as a Christian, where it's almost like, okay, this outcome has occurred. It's time to get over it, not be victim to it. Take your hand and play it.
Yeah, take your hand and play it. And in my case, it's protesting and canvassing and counting down to November 2018. So
see, she had to go there.
That's the hand I'm playing.
She had to go there. There's hope for my friend on the other side of that aisle. She loves Jesus. We love Jesus. We have that in common.
I've got my banner.
You know, but I don't, listen, I have to tell you, I told my mom the other day, because my mother, we're a house divided in this issue, right? And I told my mom.
I love your mom.
Oh, and my mother is a staunch Roman Catholic.
Yes, she is, yes.
And I looked at
the nuns, isn't it? Your auntie's with the nuns.
And the whole thing, the whole thing. And I said to my mom, I don't understand though, Mom. How could you be a staunch Roman Catholic and be upset that Hillary didn't win when she was so pro-abortion?
Well, that's where we're going to have to disagree again on that one. So I believe a woman has the right to choose. I believe in the right to choose, and that's fine. But where your mother's concerned, I think it's also about knowing that this person is quite immoral in his behavior and his outlook. And I think that trumps, I'm back to that word, trumps everything else. So I'm with your mama on this one.
Now,
but I went to my sixth step.
Because now you know I know him. He's totally fine.
I know you do.
He's great.
You've known him a long time.
A long time.
So anyway, the sixth step.
Okay, she's like, no. No. Moving right along to the sixth step.
To the sixth step.
Of integration.
Yes, of integration is to champion the cause, which is to spread the word, tell other people, and get them to complete the 6 steps. So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
But see, we're championing our causes.
We are. But you see, what I think we're an example of, which is what we want more people to be, is you can respectfully agree to disagree. That's
Oh my
fine.
gosh.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like,
Yes, I
it's
do.
almost as if somebody doesn't agree with you, therefore that shuts everything down. No, there's lots of other points and places to find connection over, isn't it?
There's no way forward
Yeah.
if we cannot
Yeah.
begin to respectfully dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's respect each other, June,
Yes,
also, because
yeah.
it's like you're an intelligent, beautiful woman and a great
Right
friend.
back at you, lady.
Thank you, sister.
Yes.
And I respect that.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
honor you in
yeah.
that. And it's interesting because I, honest to God, don't need you to agree with me.
No,
to
and
feel
vice
good about
versa, our relationship. Totally. Yeah.
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 I hope that what we are actually is an
Yeah.
example of where we can be.
Get to, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that actually
Yeah,
sitting down
yeah.
for this session, but we are.
We are, totally. Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
crazy, but we are.
Yeah.
I have to ask you this
Yes.
because what's the most wonderful thing that Jesus has done for you?
Oh my goodness. Oh, so many things. Well, I think for me, it's just every day being able to see the positive even in times of real darkness, and to have that unconditional love, which means that you don't seek it negatively from human beings. Do you see what I mean? Because I think actually if your foundation, the spiritual foundation, where you know there is an entity that loves you just because you were born. That's it. Nothing else. If you know that there is that, then your well isn't dry. You're not desperately going to men and or just society,
Alcohol,
whatever,
drugs.
asking them to feel something that they can never feel. You see what I mean? Something that's a spiritual base. And so for me, that's what Jesus and that's what Christianity has done for me. I think it's that unwavering knowing that that you are loved. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah.
That
Don't
is
you
well-
think?
yeah. Yes, because at the end of the
It's
day,
what you want a parent to give a child, isn't it? But actually,
Right.
there's something even more powerful than that,
Right.
which is the ultimate parent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. You know, it's funny because when I think about it, it's always that keeps me with him.
Yeah. What else? And also,
Yeah.
that is the only form of unconditional love there is, because actually, even any kind of human love is based on a set of conditions. If those conditions change, that love might change, isn't it? Whereas we know the love that will never change is the love of God. So, yeah.
And I think it's actually surprising to a lot of people when I think about your book and I think about these 6 degrees of integration, right? I think that it's almost surprising to Christians when they realize God really loves even other.
Yes. How about that? How
loves-
about that, right?
Loves everyone.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to that really drives me with a lot of lifestyles that I don't live or don't understand, you know. A lot of things I'll read in the Bible and it says, well, for me, that's not right, but I don't understand how God's journey applies with that person. So I'm just going to do what I'm supposed to do, which is love them and stand in my truth. But it's so interesting to me because the one thing that I really realize is that God loves everybody.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Jesus died for everybody.
God, I'm telling you, and we have to know that. And the other thing that I also suggest in the book, and I think that the church can really lead on this, is hosting Diversify dinners. And the idea is dinners that bring together people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different faiths, and to find common ground through the unifying power of food. And within that, then you can also have difficult conversations.
Yes.
Yeah. So you structured, we have a toolkit on the website. You structured the dinner in a way that allows everybody to talk. You know what the questions are ahead of time so people can think of them. And the idea is everybody provides a recipe or a dish. So you learn about their culture And within that, you're able to have this conversation that would otherwise probably be really awkward. But food and wine and laughter just loosens everybody up to be able to have it in a more honest way.
Do you know what's so good about that is that in all honesty, you know, when you come together in that way, right? You are celebrating each other because we all love food.
Love food. Yeah.
But you're so right, because it's so difficult to celebrate each other unless we understand each other.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think what a lot of this unity is doing around a lot of this disunity
Yes.
is doing around the world is causing us to get to a place where we don't celebrate diversity.
I know.
We don't, you know what I mean? We don't, cultures are losing their culture.
Yes.
I mean, I even feel like England has lost a bit of England, you know?
Well, we are in a crisis in that Brexit means we have to redefine what Britishness means. So we are now at a place where we're having this internal dialogue that's going on within the country around a set of ideas. And I think, you know, once we know what the deal is, we will know what evolves and what comes out of that. Yeah.
But the bigger thing I wish for England and Brexit and us in America and, you know, Trump or Hillary or whomever, bigger thing I really pray, because look, the Bible says pray for your leaders and those in authority. I really pray for godly leaders with godly wisdom, because we need it.
We need it. And also, you know, particularly in Britain, our leaders are very frightened to say they have faith. That's the other thing, that if they do, it's too scared to even go there.
And who wouldn't want to live in a country that is run by someone who acknowledges that there is a God and lives according to a code of values?
Yeah. How about that?
How about that? Yeah. That's a good place to end. How about that, you guys? How about that? So wherever you are in the world watching, I encourage you to really think about the things that June said, because I think sometimes as Christians, we get afraid. You know, we get afraid of other, and we get afraid of what's out there. And we're called to be the light that shines in the darkness. So what I would say to you is, if there's any fear that you have inside of yourself about that mandate, then that means you need to be stronger in your faith. You need to be clearer about your identity in Christ. Because I know you can put me anywhere. You can put me with anybody. I don't care what the faith, I don't care what the sexual orientation, I don't care what the lifestyle. I am going to be Cynthia Garrett, God's girl, Christian, and that's it. I'm not open for debate, but I am open to other people.
Oh, wonderful.
And that's what we need to be. Thank you, June.
Pleasure, darling.
Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next week. Hi, everybody. It's me, Cynthia Garrett, and I hope you're enjoying the sessions. And I just wanted to drop in on you and remind you to pick up a copy of my book, Prodigal Daughter, A Journey Home to Identity. I wrote this book because I realized that we are all prodigal kids, you know, and there was a time in my life when I ran off looking for love in all the wrong places and ended up in a world of trouble. But I met my maker and I found my identity in that mess that God turned into a message. So you can go to cynthiagarrett.org and get information about how to get my book online and at booksellers everywhere. I promise it'll bless you.